appropriate is very different in Grand Junction than most other places, but let's all try to keep it clean. Mr. McHugh, there he is, and the maidster eating some sort of mid-morning snack, making us all hungry.
He's just chewing gum.
No, she just popped something in her
mouth.
mouth. So,
did you?
All right. Well,
salami. I'm having some salami.
What?
I'm having salami.
The 11 o'clock salami snack. That's good stuff. All right. Hey, we do have some Telluride folks on, and I want to make sure that we're sending our love to our brand new office that has joined us. So Eric and Jim and Karen McCarthy, probably. Maybe that's you. So very nice to have you. And here's to a great summer where you get all the training you need and all the love you need from all of us in our offices. Valerie, it's better when you're in the picture. There you go. Hey, Valerie. So I don't forget it at the end. Happy Father's Day to all of you that have kids or pets or whatever you consider your children. So hope you have a great weekend and that someone does something nice for you if you are indeed in a fatherly role. All right. So we've got a couple of announcements, and then what I'm hoping we can move into is a bit of a discussion about multiple offer situations. They seem to be coming up here in Sun Valley quite a bit. Like I've had 4 requests for dates this week, which is awesome. So I wanted to just get some insights about how to handle. No, I haven't had any. But so that's what we're going to do. And it's great to see some of you on the call that I know have dealt with these things and can give us some insights. I was a little bit worried because we don't want to try to carry that water because it'll all leak out of the bucket. But let's do our announcements first. We got some big stuff to throw at you, and so if you have questions during any of these next few minutes, we will have a Q&A time at the end for all the people involved, and we can make sure that all the questions are answered and everybody has a good insight into the direction that things are headed. So first off, if you recall, for a couple months, I think it was April and May, we had a bounty hunter contest, which was the metro markets, competing against each other, and the resort markets competing against each other, see who could bring on the most FSBOs and the most expireds as new listings. And we have 2 winners, and I know especially Yazbek, who I think is in a listing presentation right now for a big high-price listing. He's going to be really disappointed. Gen Blue is no longer the prize because Gen Blue is not going to be happening like we thought. But the prize for the 2 winners is an all-expense trip paid to, I want to come up with a joke, but I'm not going to a Tom Ferry Summit, which is a big deal. Where is it? Is it in Vegas?
No, it's in Anaheim, California. It's the 6th through the 8th of August.
6th through the 8th of August. These 2 people are going to be going to the Tom Ferry Summit. Robert, I'm sorry it's not Indianapolis for you, but we can get you there some other way. But in the metro markets, guess who brought the most stuff onto the market? FSBOs and expireds. That's Judy Raymond from the Grand Junction office. Judy, getting it done. Nice work. I see all the Grand Junction people clapping and everybody else like, God dang it. And oh, there were some other ones. Oh, hi, Ward team. Nice to have you. And for the resort markets, I guess I already said who it is because I've made a couple jokes about him. Robert Yazbek brought like 5 FSBOs and expireds to the market. So Robert, nice job and good luck on your listing presentation today. Jeremy, did I just see Judy pop into your screen there? Bring her back. Bring her back. Let's get her.
Judy, come back. You got to give a speech.
Judy, get on over here. Tell us what the secret is. Come here. Judy, tell us what's the secret to bringing FSBOs and expireds back to the market.
Call the signs that are on the side of the road.
Okay, just so you know, that's not really a secret. That's kind of like, oh, what should I do? I'll do that. I could even do that.
It'd be really nice when you get there.
Go from like these people that didn't want to be in the market to on the market.
Yeah, they didn't want to be on the market. And then I convinced them that they could sell faster if they're on the market. And they have exposure to 800 realtors with at least 1 client.
Nice.
Talking about exposure, talking about how you're going to be able to get all of this stuff in front of people. That's good stuff. So nice work. You're going to be going to the Tom Ferry Summit. Did you hear where it is?
No.
Judy? Okay, it's in Topeka. Um, no, I think it's in Anaheim, so you can do a little bit of Disneylanding while you're at the Tom Ferry Summit. So congratulations, nice work. Daisha, are you on? Is anyone from Steamboat on the call?
They sure was.
Daisha was.
So you'll get an email out today. Whoa.
Hi, Daisha.
Judy and Robert, so that we can start coordinating the travel plans for you. So we'll be working with you on your travel plans. Okay, super excited! Yay!
Yep. So nice work, and to everybody that brought that attempted to and brought listings to the market, nice job, and we're glad to. Our inventory is actually doing okay, given the national trend to have lower inventory. CBDP agents should be no surprise, given how awesome almost all of you are. Just kidding. All of you are. We're doing better than the national average. So that's good stuff. Yeah, Mark knows I'm talking about him. He's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I know. That was not even veiled.
Nope. It wasn't even Grand Junction. Okay, so next thing we're going to move into it now that we've done that announcement is well, we're going to watch a video from Todd. As you know, Todd Conklin has a little bit of experience in front of a camera, so he's going to give us a little bit of some insight into numbers, direction, all that kind of stuff, and then we're going to hear from a couple of folks. So I'm going to share my screen. I think this works the right way. Share screen.
Click share screen.
Yes, thanks, Mark. That's awesome.
Yeah, you have.
And we're going to get this company update. I'm going to blow it up, I think, and push play. Let's see, Eileen, you're at the top of my list. Will you just give me a thumbs up once this plays that it's all good, that you can hear it and see it, okay? Okay.
Hello, you distinctive and prime agents and staff. Hey, I just wanted to take a couple minutes of your time and talk to you about some things that are going on with the organization. Super exciting. And I started off with, and I know most of you have heard me say this, right? Innovate or die. In life or in business, we can't stay stagnant, right? We're either growing or we're shrinking, right? And so to that end, and through the history of our organization, we've always strived to bring to you all services or systems, tools, whatever, to help you increase the level of your business, right? And I'm happy to tell you, year to date, this is the increase year over year, 34.32% increase year over year, which is amazing growth. And as you know, we've had that same similar type growth year over year over year. There's some wonderful things that are happening as you look at your inventory. I understand in your individual markets, inventory is down, but your inventory for the company is staying right about level, which means you're getting your unfair share of listings. And I think that's really what we're seeing, the 34.32% growth. And what does that mean? Like, how is that happening? Certainly, you all are doing an amazing job, but all of you, right? Agents, staff, leadership, everybody's working really well together to utilize the system, utilize the tools, leverage coaching, just working together to bring a better experience for everybody involved. And again, it's working. Leads are happening at a higher level. To that end, we talked about the fact that what got us here is not going to get us there. And so, true to our word, innovation and growth is our focus. We completely restructured our corporate services as it pertains to sort of marketing packages versus lead generation and advertising. And here's how it goes, right? As we've grown, what we've realized is that there's a very specific component of corporate services that is very, very specific to agents. That is going to be now named agent services. That's going to include all of the relocation, referral, the leads team, the cards, that kind of thing, right? Because again, interaction specifically with agents. It's also going to include your marketing packages, your CD1, CD3, your branding packages, etc. And lastly, but certainly not least, the transaction coordination. And I'm super excited to tell you that Shawnee Harvard is going to be the agent services manager. She's done all of those pieces herself, right? I mean, this really is somebody who has done all of the work, knows exactly what it means to get a transaction done through transaction coordination or work with agents on marketing packages, etc. The other piece that's very exciting is that the way we're going to structure the sort of lead generation and in-house, if you will, sales component is going to be very different. Alexi is going to be departing corporate services. We're super excited, again, changing lives. Alexi's been so inspired by each and every one of you in selling real estate and watching you use the systems and the tools and have this great experience and this growth, that she wants a piece of it. And so she's going out to get her real estate license. We're super excited for her. So please give her an atta girl and a high five. And the way that department then will change is we've hired a secret weapon. And I can't tell you exactly who it is yet, but you'll begin to hear announcements as we build the support team. And that group is going to be very hyper-focused on lead generation, brand marketing, out in the individual markets, both online and in print, really building a better product to generate you all more opportunities for listings and providers. We're really, really excited. You guys are going to be blown away when you find out what we've done there. At any rate, I just wanted to make sure that you all were up to speed on what was going on. Congratulations to all of you, leaders, agents, staff. This is something you should celebrate. This is amazing increase. I would venture to say, and we'll know for sure in July, venture to say it's probably the top within Coldwell Banker worldwide. And you really, really should be applauded for your hard work. Be excited about what's coming. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All right, y'all have a great day and be this evening.
Okay, I saw a couple chats that people may have had some difficulty, but I will put this video in the email so that you can watch it again and again and again if you choose to over the Father's Day weekend. But a couple of big things. And first of all, I want to start with Miss Lexi Lou. And before I turn the mic over to her, because she wants to say a couple things about her transition, I want to say, I've had so much fun working with this wonderful woman. She picked me up from the airport my first day as a CBDP person. I flew into Grand Junction. I didn't even know y'all had an airport. And she, no sign for me or anything, which is okay, I guess. But she picks me up and she and Shawnee are in the car and she's like, so who the hell are you and why are we what are you doing in our company? I don't know. I was hoping you guys could tell me that. But it was really clear right off the bat that this is a huge brain, great vision about things, and I've just 18 months with this company, and I've loved working with you, Alexi, Rust. You've made everything really easy, super responsive to me all the time, so just thank you for all of that, and of course I wish you luck, and as you said to me yesterday, if I'm in Grand Junction again, if I land at that airport, I will be calling you. Come pick me up. Okay, so Lexi, the floor is yours, but I'm just giving you a big hug. Thank you.
Thanks, Dee. I will miss you as well. Yes, you're in Grand Junction. You definitely need to call me. So yeah, I am very excited. I made the decision a little over a month ago to depart ways from corporate services here at CBDP and pursue my real estate license. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm sure that we will all stay in touch, and I have really enjoyed working with all of you, and I absolutely wish you the best moving forward.
Thanks, Lexi, and put our tools to use once you get that license hung. All right. Okay, any shout outs to Lexi? Send her an email. Make sure that she doesn't leave the corporate service office without hearing from you, because I know that you've all benefited from her work. So,
yes. Whoop, 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 whoop.
In case Teresa's sitting right there, in case you thought that either Rick or I were ventriloquists, we're not. That's Teresa noises.
Where's my baby Groot?
All right. Now, towards that end, as Todd talked about, we do have Shawnee, who I mean, is she even in that office, Dylan, or is she,
She's
what is
there.
happening? Unmute yourselves. This is Zoom 101 for, there we
There
go.
we
So Shawnee is going to have some time to introduce some of the folks that are involved in agent services and talk a little bit more about her role. Certainly hear more from her in weeks to come on this so that everybody knows what it means to go from corporate services to, as Todd talked about, a new branding of agent services. So Shawnee, get yourself in front of the camera, please. No, that's your daughter.
I know.
Nice try. Nice try.
I know.
Okay, so welcome to your new role, Shawnee. Big hand. Nice.
Thank
nice
you.
job.
Mini me.
Why don't you tell us-
Let me see that. Just wanted to say thank you very much to Lexi for everything that she has done for us here at the department. She's dedicated a lot of time, loyalty, love, tears, and dedication to CBDP. So definitely will miss my little partner in crime. I am excited. I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with her and have our friendship. I know she is going to completely kick ass as an agent. So very, very thankful and excited for her. I'm super excited to bring the marketing packages back under my little wing. So I did that starting here from pretty much day one with my career. So I am confident that we've got a great little staff out there, and it's going to get back rolling and just kind of kicking butt for you guys. So reach out to me if you guys have questions. Little patience during the transition, but for sure want to make sure that we are here to help you guys. And I've got a great little team going on in here that is going to be able to help you.
So, Shawnee, will you have each person introduce themselves?
Absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
I'm Shawnee's daughter. I'm Sierra.
Legal name.
This is Sierra. She's going to be marketing coordinator, so she'll be executing on the CB123 packages. We have Rocky in here. So Rocky is contract compliance. We have a new beautiful face, Danielle. She is our social media manager, and she'll be handling full-time graphics and social media for our, what else is it? Kind of anything and everything that we're going to put on her plate that has to do with social media and graphics. And then we have Dylan. He is our full-time marketing coordinator as well. He will be handling the CB123 packages and kind of tying up, you know, all of the loose ends and everything that we will have come our way.
That's awesome. Thanks. Hey, Danielle, I don't have enough followers on my Instagram. Can we talk in a little bit? I want to get a few more people to follow me. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. That's what I like to hear. That's great.
Hashtag.
Sounds like an awesome team there, and I know, Shawnee, under your dictator or your leadership, it's all going to be it's all going to be good. So, and I know all the markets, especially the resort ones, are really ramping up with listings. It's the selling season in the resort markets, and so we're really excited to have 5 people in that department that are going to just help all of our agents in the resort markets, especially as it is that time, have the best summer we've ever had. So thanks for all that, and really appreciate your attention to all these little details, from the social media to the lead generation to the marketing packages, and so on and so forth. So great stuff. We're going to talk about multiple listings here, or multiple offers, in just a minute. But before we do that, I did say we'd have some, if you have any questions about this stuff, like big picture questions, not the dumb one that I asked about my Instagram page. Anything that would benefit everybody's understanding about systems and programs and all of that. If you have anything like that, unmute yourself, ask away, and let's try to make sure that everybody is all on the same page. We've got a huge audience here today too. I guess they knew that Judy was going to be talking, so maybe you'll be the guest of the week every time, Judy. But anyway, any big picture questions for Lexi, Shawnee, or any of the folks in agent services? My money's on Mark. Not you, Mark. Mark Cornyn.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Anything that we need to address that might have thoughts about? Jeremy Hayden's auditioning for a role in the agent, it looks like. Okay, great. Well, we don't need to belabor that then. So awesome stuff. Let's move then into some real estate talk. Okay, and I did email a few of you yesterday that are on the call about maybe being able to contribute to this, but this is wide open. Anyone that has experience or questions with multiple offers, we want to make sure that we can all handle these. We've seen more of them in Sun Valley lately, and if we're seeing them in Sun Valley, I'm betting they're happening everywhere because it is what kind of market is it right now?
Hot.
It's hot and it's low inventory. So we're seeing a lot of multiple offer situations. So let's make sure that we all have some best practices in our grab bag to handle these things. We are going to talk first from the listing standpoint. So that we're going to talk listers, and then we're going to talk buyers. Did I just go and buyers? So let's put our listing hats on. We have our listings are getting multiple offers from other buyers agents out there. Okay, so I'm going to take some notes, but Valerie, you're just to my left here. I assume you've dealt with multiple offer situations with one of your listings before. Do you have any anecdote, any story, any best practice, any don't ever do this because I totally, messed up? Anything like that, Valerie? Unmute yourself. Valerie, unmute yourself. There we go. Okay.
I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Repeat the question.
Do you know how to unmute? No. So if any of your listings that you've had that you've received multiple offers on, and how to deal with that strategically so that you're getting the best for your clients and you're keeping the agents out there happy with how you're handling multiple offers. So from a listing standpoint, you've got a listing, it's getting multiple offers. Give us some strategies, some tips, some things never ever to do, that sort of thing.
Oh gosh, let me think about that. They're all different.
Okay. And I think that from a listing standpoint, it's very different than when you have a buyer, is my sense. So I'm not just asking, hey, Valerie, be the expert here. Anyone at all that has some experience with having a listing that's received multiple offers, or you have some thoughts about it, just wide open to this.
I don't think it's that complicated. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, all you, Mark. Go ahead.
I don't think it's all that complicated for the most part from the selling side, unless you're bringing a buyer. Then your life gets very complicated to make sure that it doesn't look like you're doing something unethical. What I've done in the past in that situation, just food for thought for some people, is I've had the other agents, I say, bring me your highest and best by this time, obviously, but I have them deliver it to me, ideally, if possible, in an envelope, printed. Like, hey, I'm going to sit down and present all these offers. I'm not going to look at them so that you know that I'm not, using your offer to better my client's offer and make sure everybody's on an even playing field. So, and then sit down and open them all in front of the seller.
Why don't you do a bidding war?
Say it again.
Well, yeah, no, I'm highest and best first, right? I mean, if I know I've got more than one offer coming in, even if it's just 2 offers, I'm just like, by this time, I want highest and best.
So you're telling that to the agent that's got the buyer?
Yep. Agent or agents, whoever's got the buyer.
Right. But you're not going to play them against each other and make them work each other and beat them all up?
I wouldn't personally, because I don't feel like that's necessarily ethical. If I've got a dog in the fight, now I have put 2 agents against each other, but not in the situation I'm talking about is if I'm bringing a buyer as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ethics piece is always just right here with how you're doing all these things. So I'm glad that E word was brought up. What Mark has talked about there, bring me your highest and best in an envelope so that we can be right here. That eliminates some of the maybe back room kind of dealing that you could be accused of, perhaps. So does anyone have another way to solicit, if you have multiple offers on something, that you can get those agents to get them to you in an ethical and prompt way?
I'm sorry to jump in here again. Be careful when you use the word ethics. If you say anything ethical about another agent, you're being unethical according to our code of ethics. So using the word ethics and ethical, we got to be very careful about. It basically pisses off all the other brokers in your board if you are that guy that does that. And that's what Mark and I have talked about previously. You don't want to be that guy. And if your seller coaches you to do it, it's your fiduciary responsibility to create that bidding war. So it's a great thing to set expectations, before you go on the market. Tell the story of what multiple offers looks like, so your seller is prepared if it happens.
So
I find what you said, Keith, to be unethical. The only other thing I'd add to that is disclose. Right? I mean, oftentimes we kind of get into that place where like, oh my gosh, this could get sticky, this could get hairy, and we get nervous and we almost impose the uneasiness on the transaction. Just be super transparent and remember who your client is.
And from the listing standpoint, if it's your listing, you know, Mark had said the dog in the fight, that's your dog in the fight, right? Is your client whose home you are listing. So you're trying to do the best for them. Does highest and best ever get trumped by easiest or cleanest, you know, in terms of like it's cash only or the contingency or the, like, what else factors into making something highest and best? Because it's easy to say, oh, well, yours is $5,000 higher, so we'll take it. But is there any other way to make it best without just raising the offer price?
Terms, lender, there's a million ways.
Sorry, say it again.
Terms, lenders, cash versus whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, highest and best doesn't necessarily mean necessarily that it's the highest dollar amount. It may be close. But, you know, if you're like, these guys are all working with some goofy lender I've never heard of, and then this guy's working with somebody that, you know, myself, the seller, maybe both know, hey, this guy is solid, that could carry more weight.
If I could jump
That's
in.
the seller's call.
You can also change earnest money amount, and you can also have it be released non-refundable to seller.
So that was about earnest money. Closing costs could figure into this maybe. I mean, like, just think about ways to be creative to make to bring in the best offer. Again, we're talking about the listing side now, so I'm trying to really clear about that. Mark has already addressed this, but maybe there's more to this. How do you communicate that? Say you get your 2 envelopes and you read them. Okay. Then what do you do with those agents that gave you the envelopes? What's the process? Do you look at the lesser one first and say, well, you're in second position because of this, hoping that maybe they'll better their position? Or do you call the best one first and say, dude, you're the one? Like, what's the right strategy once you have the offers in front of you and your client? Sorry, Jeremy, I'll throw some jokes in pretty soon to liven it up for you. I'm really worried about these yawns. But what do you do once you get these offers? We need to know how to approach the other agents and do it in a way that's tactful and makes them really glad to be working with you, even though they might be in second position.
I'm all for open communication when it comes to multiple counteroffers, but as far as reaching out to the second place agent in order to get something more, you know, I always consider once you say final and best, there's no real countering after that. I've always been under the impression you should just accept the highest and best, or else what you told them previously is sort of not necessarily true.
I see. So stick with the language that you've used. You got the envelopes in front of you. And this is if you're using Mark's strategy. And I'm betting that most of you don't.
Well, and that strategy is just one if I'm bringing a buyer, right? Like if I'm also in this party, I wouldn't have everybody do that. Otherwise, I'm back and forth with them. Like if I'm bringing a buyer so that I don't look like I'm trying to gain an advantage over those two, because I could easily do that. Like,
that was dual agency is what you're talking about.
Exactly. In my situation with the envelope thing, that's a dual agency transaction broker kind of situation. That I want to not be able to see what they're offering, so that they know that I'm not just going to one up them by $100 and take the deal which is not in the best interest potentially of my seller. Maybe, you know, maybe they'd be better off represented by me than being an impartial third party for me to get 2 checks.
Yeah, that's a tough one when you have multiple offers and it's your listing and you have a buyer involved in that. I would say
that's gnarly. But hey, Derek, just the way you've worded that question, I would just say, remember we're the agents. Like, it's none of our business. We do what we're told. So, if the seller wants us to call for highest and best, and we do, and the seller decides that they want to go back and renegotiate with one of the deals, then we renegotiate. If they tell us they don't want us to talk to the other agents, then we don't talk to the other agents. Our client is our client. So while it may not make it easy for us to have, wonderful relationships with the other agents, we do what we're told within the confines of the law. And as agents, we should all be aware of that, A, and B, I mean, I don't care who you are, whoever lost is going to take it personally.
Right.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I guess what I was looking for is what is the strategy? If it's not to go to the other agents, but like you talk to your client next, so that's the thing right there, instead of calling the other agents and saying, well, hey, I need to bump this up or whatever. So Todd's saying you get these offers, and then it's to your client that you go to.
Right. A lot of times when you get 4 or 5 offers or something on a property, a lot of times they'll be very, very close together, right? And so then you sit down with the seller and say, hey, here's all these offers, and they probably turn to you like, what am I supposed to do with all this?
Right.
And then you can say, okay, here's your options. We can counter one. Don't counter more than one, because that can open a can of worms. But because if they both accept, then all of a sudden you've got a problem. So you can maybe counter one, or you go back to everybody, say highest and best, whatever, lay out the options, and then whatever the seller wants you to do, you do. And unfortunately, I've had sellers instruct me to counter 3 offers, and that it really sucks. But then it's a matter of, you get it to me first, you're the one, But that gets so hairy to manage. But so I try to instruct them not to do that, but it can be done. I've done it.
Right, and that's a timing issue, is what you're saying. If
Right.
it's a timing issue, who gets it to me first? So
Which kind of sucks for all the buyers at that point. Like,
yeah.
whoever
So-
doesn't have a job gets it first.
Right. I saw a few heads nodding when Mark said, countering multiple offers. Don't do that. Like, there was some agreement with that. Any confusion about that? Anyone need to hash that out a little bit more?
No, but Derek, I would say, like, when I handle a multiple offer situation as a listing agent, I send an email to every single agent, and I send them the exact same email. And sometimes I send it all at the same time, and I blind carbon copy them. Whether I'm a participant in that, or if I also have a buyer or not, I'm treating it all the same way. It doesn't really matter to me. And I just let everybody know that they're in a multiple offer situation, that if your buyer wishes to change their offer, keep their offer the same, just, let me know. I'm letting you know this is when I am presenting to my seller, and let me know and confirm that you please have received my email. And then after, when I receive them all and I have all the offers in front of me, I actually print them out old school style, and I mark them exactly with, this is a loan, what type of loan, this is the price, this is the earnest money, this is your closing date, this is your inspection period. And when I'm presenting them, usually I do in person to a seller. If I have to email, I do the same thing. I line them all out on a spreadsheet. And sometimes the highest cash offer is not always the best offer. Sometimes those buyers terminate. And it could have been that first-time home buyer who just, it is so hard to choose in those multiple offers. And I've been there many, many times. You just have to do your best to hopefully choose the right, talk to your sellers about, here are all the pros and the cons. And the seller ultimately, like Todd said, makes the decision. And you're just there to be the conduit for that, and to help them gauge, well, there's a risk in this type of loan because it's not conventional, and there's VA, and we have peeling paint. Everyone is different, and you just try to help your client understand what each one needs.
Right. And to try to do that objectively, and I'm imagining, you've got relationships with agents are better than others, and so maybe that figures into it, because that they're always solid, their work is always good. Maybe that is part of this. Joni put in a chat that I'm glad she did. Thank you, Joni. What about an escalation clause. Has anyone used an escalation clause successfully? And can you just walk us through what that
from the buyer side? From the buyer side, but I don't know how you do an escalation clause on the seller, the listing side. Maybe it can be done, but I've won with escalation clauses on buying side, multiple offers.
Okay, let's keep that over here. Are there any examples? Is that even a possibility from a listing standpoint to have an escalation clause? Or is that just for buyers? Okay. All right. So if you're using an escalation clause, and Joni, maybe you have some experience. I've used it for buyers. Okay. So we'll get to that in a second. Any other strategies or tips? I mean, what I've really heard is like just communication, disclose. Make sure you're being transparent with your client and sharing that information with them. Valerie, one of the questions I had as you were talking is, do you have any responsibility, or should you be letting the other agents know who the other agents are? You said BCC those things. Is there any type of confidentiality that needs to be kept in a multiple offer situation so that agent X and agent Y don't know they're both in it? Or is that
well, I blind carbon copied them, so nobody knows who the other agents are involved. So sometimes in casual conversation, it's like, we live in a really small town, so it's like, it's like, oh, was that so-and-so in my office that brought you the other offer? It's like, no. It's like, I don't think that it doesn't even matter who the agent is, because they're not the buyer. The agent's not the buyer. This is a contract between a buyer and a seller, and agents don't really matter. It's like who they are. So most of the time, no, I keep it confidential. I blind carbon copy everybody.
And if you're listening to this and you don't know what BCC or blind carbon copy is, we need to have a talk real quick. Okay? Make sure that you know how to utilize that. Karen here has.
So we have language when we counter multiple buyers that puts the seller in charge, and maybe I missed this one the time I ran it here. So it's wonderful because it allows you to counter multiple buyers, and then the seller gets to choose within a certain amount of time frame what offer he wants to accept. So you're never in the position of having two accepted contracts.
I like that.
It's legal language that covers your.
So, and that's what Mark was talking about, that's a dicey thing to be doing multiple counters. But
it's not with this language.
Right. Without the language, it could be.
You're in big trouble.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know.
It's our form.
We have a form?
Yep.
I don't know if we have a form, but I have language.
We have a form. Where does it live?
In the MLS forms.
Okay.
It's
so when you say we, sorry about this. I'm
but
talking
Sun Valley.
Sun Valley does. So I'd be happy to put that together, I think, and share it with you, although that doesn't mean you should use it, because if it's a local. Okay. All right. So we'll put that in the recording so that you can see that. But make sure you're comfortable with it. Just because you have language for something doesn't mean you know what that language means. Make sure that you've read it and you know what the heck it's saying, and that you can explain it to someone like me before you say, oh, I've got language, here's the language, and you don't know what you just passed off, right? So always do your homework with that. Anything else from a seller, from a listing standpoint about multiple offers? Keeping in mind that the best way to get multiple offers on your listing is to price it right and to promote it with great marketing, and make sure that all those agents that do the business in your market know what the heck you're bringing to the market. You do that by having all your photos ready to go at the outset, making sure that it launches with a big splash. Those are ways to get multiple offers in this busy, busy, busy market. Okay.
One other thing, Derek, on that before we move on to buyers. We've had people in this market, it hasn't happened to me personally, and probably has to people in the office. You'll have a house on the market for $200,000, and then 5 people come in, and one person comes and offers like $235,000 or something crazy, because their plan is to kick your butt on appraisal. And so that's not good faith, honestly, but it's happening big time in Denver, happens here right now a little bit. And so that's where, like, the highest is certainly not always the best.
Right. So, and we just had a situation like that in Sun Valley, I think, where someone tied it up with a very, very good offer, but it was clear as the deal went on that they have these ulterior plans. So what do you do about that, Mark? I don't even know what I would do with that.
It's not always obvious to see it in the first place, but that's something to caution. If somebody coming in really high and they're not all cash, but hey, we still got to get through the appraisal, and just make sure to counsel your sellers that this may look great, but they may have a different plan, that they're trying to win this and then beat us up on everything else under the sun.
Okay, and so that goes back to disclosure and telling the story. I think, Mark, you said that. Tell your clients at the outset what highest and best would mean. It doesn't mean only highest. It also means best, okay? That we've seen this happen where someone comes in at 10, 15% higher. Sometimes this happens, so let's not get all excited about that dollar sign.
Right.
Well, and there is some language that you can use to address the appraisal concern kind of on the onset rather than waiting until appraisal to do that.
When you say the onset, is that where would that be in this process?
It'd be at the contract. You could put in, I've seen recently probably 2 or 3 that have addressed appraisal specifically saying buyer is willing to pay up to $10,000 above appraised value. So, if you buy serious, or if your seller wants to alleviate some concerns, there you always put something regarding that.
Interesting. So, if you've got questions about this, you all have experienced agents who have gone through this in your office. Please don't just generate language that you're not familiar with. Vet it with people. Use your MDs, your sales managers, the people have done this before. What Kelly's talking about and what Karen talked about, you just can't write that stuff up and assume it's going to carry water, right? So know what you're saying and make sure someone else is looking at it and that they've got the experience to say, yes, this is what you need to say, and this will allow you to not run into that situation that Mark was talking about as often, okay? All right. Anything else from the listing standpoint? We're going to move to buyers, where I think this is probably even more germane, or as they say, germaner. Okay, great. No, they do that. They say that in Europe. So from a buyer standpoint, you're bringing a buyer. Let's not talk about dual agency. You're bringing a buyer to a listing, and you've got your buyer, and they are in a multiple offer situation, which is happening a lot. That's probably really the crux of this conversation. What are the strategies you as an agent need to use to best represent your client, your buyer, in these situations?
Well, you've got Joni with the escalation clause, which is good.
Escalation clause. So, and for people like me, what the heck? Someone tell me what that is. What's an escalation clause? Watch your fingers there, Mark.
I'm just ready for you, Derek. Well, what I've basically used is we will beat any offer that comes in by $100. This is one specifically that I won with, up to X dollar amount. In this case, it was like $210. We were offering $200. We were willing to go up to $210 in $100 increments to beat whatever came in. But we had to see that other offer, so we couldn't get played, but it could be redacted. So it didn't have any names on there, because we don't need to know the person's name. That's not the point. We want to know we were dealing with a real offer. And I put that into the contract, not that exact wording, but somewhere to that effect. And we won by $100 at $200,100. So if we wouldn't have, then it would have gone to a multiple offer situation. Who knows where the price would have gone? So it worked out well in that case for my buyer.
So you put that in regardless of whether you were in multiple offers, you don't even know.
No, I typically just put that in if I have an idea that, I could probably put it in whatever, but I'd rather only put it in situations where I know there's another offer, so that they can't take my offer in the time period I'm giving them to sign and then shop it for somebody to maybe write them another offer that, just to protect my clients, so they don't get another offer that was really there just to drive me up $4,000.
So I have a tip about that. So I use escalation clause a lot in a multiple offer situation, but I always counsel my buyers to, let's not come up with 100, 1,000. Let's come up with a number that nobody else is going to come up with. Because I have seen agents use my escalation clause. And so I'm like, let's be creative. Let's figure out a different amount that nobody else is going to think of, so that if somebody else is using the same escalation clause, you know, we're not exactly both $1,000 over. And I've been very successful in sometimes, like, we didn't have to raise our price. And I've seen sellers come back with like, wow, they accepted it and we were willing to pay $10,000 more. And we got exactly what our original offer was. And it's really worked. And I've had this fear with buyers the buyers that are fearful of it, like, well, I'm going to have to pay more anyways. And I'm like, no, it's not true. It doesn't happen that way. And I've had it happen like 3 different types of responses with it. And it's been very good. I encourage you all to use an escalation clause if you're in a multiple offer situation, if your buyer is, you know, willing to step it up.
So I have a question. So I tried to get a buyer to use an escalation clause, as you're suggesting, and boy, I got shot down so hard because of the fear of it working against him, and I just wasn't up to speed on the dialogue of why that's not going to happen, which I think is what you're talking about. Is it just a proof of the other offer? How do you tell your buyer you're not opening their hand to the seller when you submit this escalation clause?
So I'll read you my escalation clause because I have it saved, so I don't have to reword it all the time. Sometimes I tweak it a little bit, but it says, if the buyer is in a multiple offer situation, the buyer shall increase their purchase price per section 4.1, $1,600 more than any other bona fide, acceptable, and verifiable offer, up to a maximum purchase price of, let's say, $165,000. If seller accepts, then seller shall deliver to the buyer the other acceptable offer with the buyer's identity redacted and a counter proposal with a new price which is no more than $1,600 higher than the other verifiable offer. So then the seller has to respond to our offer, if we're the chosen offer, with a counter proposal that changes the purchase price that is no more than what we've put in there. And so I do still, when I go over this clause with a buyer, and I suggest this, they will say, what if I have to pay more? What if the buyer, and I go, I've had this happen from experience. I've had this where a seller just accepts it and we don't get a counter proposal and they just sign our offer. They knew what our intent was, that we were very serious about making this purchase. And you do have to, most buyers are concerned about that happening, but I think it's like, no, they're going to have to prove it. We're going to have a signed, bona fide offer. So they're going to prove to us that somebody for that legal description offered them on this date that price. So we're going to have proof if we get back a counter proposal.
Right. You know what I really, really like about that, Valerie, is, and you alluded to this, is it shows your intent, the seriousness of your offer from the get-go, right? You don't have to then be in touch like, oh no, we're really, like, if I get that offer as an agent, I'm like, these people, they want this, you know, and that could just end all sorts of other stuff over there because they know you're the one.
What keeps the seller from saying, okay, I'm just going to counter you at your max price because now I know you'll pay it. So it's not even about, I mean, they just,
Well,
usually in a multiple offer situation, you're offering full price. I mean,
yeah, but the seller can come back at any price he wants.
So you don't have to accept their counter.
Well,
I've actually had that happen. I have had a seller counter the max price because you do, I mean, it's a risk you take. You are putting all of your cards on the table. The buyer is kind of putting out their willing to pay for it, and the seller, it is a seller's market, and the seller can't take advantage of that, I guess. And the buyer still.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, Kelly, but I think the point is that it's a risk. You don't do this all the time. You do it when you know your buyer wants this prop. Like it's got to be for certain cases where you really think there's a match and you want to make it happen. So Jim from Telluride is asking if we can get a copy of Valerie's verbiage there. And so I'll leave that to her. But I don't know why you have to have that written down anywhere. Can't you just remember that, Valerie? Oh, wow. So that's good stuff. Good stuff. Yes, we'll get that to folks sooner than later so that you have these things. Again, you don't just copy and paste what someone else has written. You make sure you know what the heck it is and that it applies to your market, your MLS, all of that. So make sure you're vetting it with someone that knows the ins and outs of all this language. Okay, Karen Bouvet might be a good person.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Speaking of, hi Karen.
Well, I've tried 4 times, but I couldn't butt in. My question to Valerie is, did she write that clause or did an attorney write the clause?
I crafted that with a buyer. Like we had to figure out a way. Like, no, I did not have an attorney.
Okay, good.
It was not an Oliver Frascona. And actually, I don't know. I've had it for so long.
No, it works. It works.
And I maneuver it for different, I change it up, but that is like my template of like let's get started with this thought process.
Good job. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. Good, Valerie.
When you get a good from Karen Bouvet, you know you're doing something right. So, man, that should be a start to your weekend, Valerie. Karen said good. Oh, my God. We're in good shape now. So, Bob obviously hasn't gotten one from her yet because he's like, God dang it, I need a good Karen. So, spread those goods out, Karen. All right. What else how else can we benefit? Does anyone have a don't ever do this story? Because I always think those are as instructive sometimes as best practices. When you know when you got burned, when it just didn't work. So learn from me, don't ever do it this way.
Okay, it's me again. My best practice would be don't ever make the decision for your seller or your buyer. Let them make the decision. It has come back to haunt that especially the seller says, well, which one shall I take? And you can counsel, but let them make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the buyer.
That's good.
Counsel them.
And loose lips sink ships. I did win a buyer side multiple offer because one of the guys that I used to work with over at my other office was just like, oh man, I'm in this multiple offer situation. I offered this much money with these terms, like, and I'm like, okay.
Excuse me for a second. I have some work to do.
I better retype this real quick. It's one thing to like go get advice from your broker about some of the specific things, or your manager, or whoever, or maybe somebody else in the office. But man, be careful. You don't know who might hear you, who might be. You're not supposed to disclose this stuff. It's confidential. Period. In most states, I'm sure pretty much all we're dealing with here. But yeah, be careful. Don't just blab about it because you might be giving ammo to somebody else.
That's a great point. And as much as we all love each other, we all are.
We're working for
our clients. You're responsible to your client, not to the person next door to you in the cubicle. So that's a great reminder, Mark. Thank you for that. Anything else about this topic, this subject that would help everybody benefit?
I have a tip.
Yes.
If your buyer is presenting a buyer letter, like, dear seller, I love you. Will you love my offer? If you're presenting it and your buyer wants one presented with their offer, I recommend that you make it as in section 31.2, which is where it is attached to the contract. It's not a part of the contract, but it's an attachment. We have a couple of agents in our area that have a policy that buyer letters will not be presented. And so, and I've had this where buyer letters are not presented and your buyer thinks their letter is presented. So if you want to make it, known that it is in the offer, that your seller has the right to look at it if they choose to, that sometimes I put it in there when I know I'm dealing with those agents and if my buyer wants one presented.
Okay, so putting it actually in the contract so that it has to be looked at, that's good. Buyer letters, I mean, that's not really the topic, but does anyone use those? Is it just...
I personally would never give one to my seller. I don't care if it's say that it's required. I don't want to put my seller into a fair housing battle. Potential.
I don't understand. Can you be more clear, Mark? What do you say?
So if they say, you know, hey, I've got a family of 4, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden they take that offer over a bachelor dude, what did they make that decision based on?
So this is
discrimination on familial status.
Isn't that what a buyer letter is all about, is to try to tug some strings so that you're...
Right.
It is, but it's illegal for a seller to consider it based on that. So
right.
I am in the same boat as you, Mark. I will never present one. Never.
As a buyer, you're probably doing a disservice by not providing one. But as a as a listing agent, I think I'm doing a disservice by presenting it. It's a gray area big time, in my opinion.
So I
gray area talk. Yeah, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, this is Donna from Telluride. I actually ran into this situation last fall, and it was really interesting. I just sat down with my sellers, and I said, I have been asked to present this to you, and you have to realize, you know, what the situation is here. I let them make the decision. Everything was fine. They actually ended up going with the other offer because they felt that the terms were better and the price was better. But it made the selling agent feel better and his buyers feel better that, yes, I could tell them I presented it, but I was very careful how I couched it with the sellers.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the right
I've told my sellers before that we've received letters from the buyers. I explain fair housing to them. I tell them, you know, if you would like me to present these, you know, just know that this puts you in a difficult position. And I think that it's best to review the contract based on the contract and price and terms. And then if they want to look at the letter after the fact, then they can look at the letter after the fact. I actually had a seller that decided to do it exactly that. And after the end, when they decided which contract to go with, they didn't even want to see the letter because it didn't matter at that point.
Really fascinating stuff. And so Valerie starts over here. We got Mark, Kelly. I mean, there's no right or wrong here. Just be careful, again, because you're starting to tread on some Fair Housing Act things. So, but really great insights. Thanks for all of those things. Anything else about letters? Have they been successful for you? Do you think it's a useful tool?
I've won a multiple offer with a letter too.
You have what?
I have won a multiple offer with a letter too. That being said,
and maybe, you know, yeah, the sellers are locked up, but it won. I don't know.
Right, it's seller's problem, not mine.
All right. Hey, it's noon, and as far as fan clubs go, I really, really appreciate all the insights today and the energy. Hope you all learned something today, not only about the company, but about how to do your business better and best practices as we move into the very busy season. So, yes.
For us new MDs, can you remind us how, if we know there are agents on our roster who we want to hear this, I know you're recording this, where do I find this so that I can forward a link to this recording to those agents?
First of all, everyone in our company gets the invite. Okay, and I use BCC, thank you, Valerie, so that it goes to everybody, but you don't have to see all 270 email addresses. And then, Julie, 9 times out of 10, I follow up later in the day with the recording, which I put on YouTube, so everybody in the company gets the link to that recording, so you can watch it, and whatever other attachments go along with it. I say 9 times out of 10 because it seems like 10% of the time the recording doesn't work, or I don't get it, or it's too big, or whatever. So, but Julie, and any other MD or anyone else that wants special attention, except for you, Mr. Corner, if you need different things sent to you differently, I'm kidding. Just let me know, and we'll make it work for your offices. Okay?
If they claim to not be able to see or find the email, you said it's on YouTube?
Yeah, on our Coldwell Banker Inside Track page.
Okay.
And if you want to email me who this is, make sure that my system is reaching it or that I didn't have the wrong email address. Like, I wasn't in touch with Jim Jennings for a while because I had an L instead of an I at the end of the thing. So, you know, sometimes that happens. Okay, anything else as we move into the Father's Day weekend and into summer? Actually, it's just less than a week away finally.
That's horrifying thought.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. Well, thanks a ton for all of your insights and all the good stuff that we learned today. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all of you dads. And we'll see you next week when we'll have some really exciting stuff from CD Exchange to share with you. Okay?
Yay!
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.